My name is Bart Weil, and I am a special education assistant at Stephen White Middle School. And I have worked with LAUSD since 1997, so what is that, 27 years now? I decided to take a job in education just because I love working with students. It's my passion to work with the kids. I love helping the students learn. I love helping the students in the classroom. And when you have special ed kids who are convinced I have special ed, I can't do it. And you tell these kids, yes, you can, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get you through this. And you help the kids, and you've helped them learn something they didn't know before. You help them go over that hurdle. It's just a great feeling working with these kids who were taught from kindergarten, oh, you're special ed, you can't do it. And you teach them, yes, you can, we're gonna do this, come on, we're gonna get this. And I love that. What else? Oh, I've been a member of Local 99 since 2012, so 12 years now. And I wanted to become a union member just because I felt ignored, I felt neglected, I felt unappreciated, I felt like the district was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I see the teachers at my school in the red shirts, UTLA, and they're so proud of their union. Their union does everything. It's so great. We're going to fight because our union is so wonderful. We're UTLA, we're the red shirt union. And it's like, well, what about us? We're here too. Why don't we have a union like this? So I found out about SEIU 99 and I joined up to make a difference for the classified staff, not just for the teachers. And I wanted to step up as member leader. I signed up to be a shop steward at my school. I didn't even know what a steward was. I just knew that we had union leaders for UTLA, and I said we should have that for SEIU as well. So they said, you want to be a steward? So I signed up to be a steward. I took the classes, and I became a leader at my school just being a steward because nobody else wanted to do it, and nobody else even knew anything about it. So it was just to do this, just to educate the fellow classified people at my school, to help them understand the union better and just to help us to grow so we weren't feeling so ignored and underappreciated. The strike, okay. Going on strike was a difficult decision for me, but I felt it was a necessary one because here's the thing people don't understand about the strike. We went on strike in 2023. Our contract for the strike expired June 2020. So we were 3 years out of contract. And those 3 years were the COVID years. They were the Zoom years. They were the years when we didn't have classrooms to go to. We had to go to our students online. We had to get up and go online and sign in and work with the kids through screens, which is incredibly difficult, especially with the special ed population. The special ed population doesn't do screens very well. You need to have the one-on-one interactive experience in person with them because you can't have the same communication via screens. And people understand just what a difficult time that was, how crazy that was, how just insane that was for a year and a half trying to educate kids through screens. It's just not something that special ed kids can do. And so to try and do that was insane. And again, to be out of contract for 3 years during COVID, during Zoom, trying to do that. And everybody says, oh, your job was so easy. You didn't even have to go to work. You just have to roll out of bed and turn your computer on. And it's like, yeah, but that defeats the whole purpose. Schools exist for a reason. There's a physical location that the kids go to for a reason. You go to the classroom to work with the kids in person. And being on Zoom, having screens because of COVID just defeats that purpose. And the reason a lot of these kids' test scores went down so much, they lost a lot of education time, is because a lot of the kids they can't do screens. And you can't do your job properly when you don't have the tools. And one of those tools is the actual classroom itself. So to be those 3 years on Zoom, trying to work through screens with the kids, and then to be out of contract, to know that you're supposed to have this contract, 3 years ago that you still don't have, and it's 3 years later, and the district is dragging its feet. And you gotta realize too, because of COVID, the cost of everything was going up. Rent was going up, gas was going up, groceries were going up, and we hadn't had a raise since 2019. So you're paying 2023 prices for gas and food and rent, but your check is still from 2019. So that was frustrating. And the fact that the district was dragging its feet as much as it could, saying, oh, well, we'll see about this. Oh, we'll see about that. Oh, well, we might do that. And it just felt like they didn't care. And again, the fact that we were 3 years out of contract and the district just still didn't seem to care. And those 3 years were incredibly difficult. Again, COVID, Zoom, and just was kind of like, okay, well, whatever. So when you feel neglected, you feel ignored, you feel underappreciated, that intensely to the point where your contract is 3 years out of date, And again, those 3 years were incredibly difficult, and no one seems to recognize that or appreciate that. You get frustrated, and the frustration was palpable. Everybody felt it. One of the questions here is, do other people have difficulties? Other people were not. They were like, yes, when are we going on strike? We need to show this district that we can do this. So when we took the strike vote, I believe it was like 90 to 95% positive to go on strike because people felt unappreciated. They felt like the district didn't have their back. They felt like the district didn't care about them. When you feel like your bosses don't care about you, especially when you're in a pandemic situation, it's painful. You give this much time to your boss. Like I said, I've worked with districts since '97. So at that point, it was 23 years with the district, and you just feel ignored, neglected. It's like, I've given all this time to this company. They don't care. And that's a horrible feeling. So you need to step up when that happens and say, I'm here. I need to be appreciated. I need you to realize what I'm doing for these kids, for this school, for this population that's underappreciated to begin with. So that was the reason I went on strike. What else? Was it a difficult decision? No. Again, because you can't be put in that position for that long. Again, we were 3 years out of contract, and the district was stalling and dragging its feet, and you can feel it. And when you have that situation, you need to step up. So, did you involve oh yes, my family is very involved. You got to realize too, my parents were both teachers. I have 2 sisters that are teachers. I have an aunt and an uncle who are both teachers, very much union people. So my family understood. And the great thing too was this was a joint strike between SEIU and UTLA. So my sisters are both on picket lines at their schools. So we'd literally call them in the morning and say, what are you guys doing today? Okay, what are we doing? And we would just compare notes about our strike details, our picketing, which was great, just to have the family support, because they're in the same position I was on Zoom, just feeling underappreciated, trying to educate these kids via a screen. The many Local 99 members decided to strike again, just because you can't be in this district where you feel like no one cares about you and just let that go. You have to step up. You have to say, hey, I'm here. I'm the one making this district run. You got to realize too, we're the ones, the classroom assistants, security, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, building and grounds workers, we're the people that make these schools run. And the fact that we're the people that make these schools run and to be that underappreciated, we shut those schools down for 3 days. You got to realize the teachers went on strike back in 2019, before COVID, before the pandemic. The school stayed open. The teachers had a 7-day strike back in 2019, and the school stayed open. When we went out for 3 days, they shut the schools down. They couldn't have the schools without us, without security, without B&G, without the bus drivers, without us, without the cafeteria workers. They had to shut those schools down for 3 days. So we were out there picketing, and you got to realize too, this was, I believe it was early March, so it was still winter. It was pouring, like we had a storm come in that week, and the rain was coming down. We were out there in the pouring rain, in the wind. At different times, the rain was coming in sideways, and we're still out there with our signs, picketing in front of the school, saying, we need to be appreciated. We're here. We're fighting for respect. And it was worth it, even in the pouring rain, just to say, hey, we're making a statement here. We need you to appreciate us. We need you to appreciate the work that we're doing, that we've been doing during a freaking pandemic. It was crazy, but we had to do it. And nobody wanted to. You got to realize this wasn't a yay, we're on strike. No, this was not something we wanted to do. This was something we felt we needed to do just because we needed them to see us. We felt ignored, and that's a horrible place to be. What else? What were you feeling before the strike? Anticipation, just trying to make sure everybody was on the same page, trying to make sure, like I said, I'm a shop steward at my school, so trying to make sure that I had coordinated between my classified people and the UTLA people to make sure that the purple shirts and the red shirts were all on the same page, to make sure that we knew what time people were getting there, make sure we had everything set up that we needed, make sure that people had the right gear, to make sure they had the umbrellas and the jackets for the rain, make sure we had covering, make sure that we were out there on the street where the cars could see us, making sure that we had everything ready. So this was an undertaking, and you had to be ready for it. So just getting ready, making sure that everybody is there that needs to be there. I had about 6 other schools around my school that I was going around to, making sure they had signs, making sure they had stuff that they needed, their supplies going, just to get the morale going. It's like, do you guys want donuts? Do you guys need coffee? Do you guys want some more picket signs? So just very busy getting everything going, but I felt like it's something that we needed to do. I felt like we were ultimately, it was a negative thing with a positive result. That's how I could put it. We should not have needed to go on strike. It should not have gone that far, but it did. And it was something necessary that shouldn't have been necessary, but it was. So that was the feeling there. And a lot of people felt that same way. And it was just great to have the purple shirts and the red shirts on the same page out there protesting together. And it was just such a great feeling of camaraderie. It was a great feeling of we're working together for this. Just to see that many people out there, again, in the pouring rain. I can't even paint this picture for you. Rain was coming in sideways, and we were out there picketing in the rain, just with our umbrellas, with our jackets, with everything, just out there saying, we need this. We need the district to see this. This is for the kids. This is for our schools. This is for our future. Because again, you can't have kids. If the school's neglected, then the kids suffer. That's the bottom line. And the kids, as much of a cliche as it is to say, oh, it's for the children, it is. Bottom line, that's why the schools exist. It's for the kids. And when you neglect your employees, you end up neglecting the kids. The kids suffer. When you cut down your custodial staff, when you cut down your security staff, when you cut your cafeteria staff, when you cut the bus drivers down, the kids suffer. And all these people down at Beaudry see are costs. They're looking at spreadsheets, they're looking at numbers, they're looking at, oh, we can cut this and this and this. And it's frustrating that every time there's anything going on with the budget, the scissors always seem to come out for education first. And it's not just Beaudry, it starts in Sacramento. These people in Sacramento don't realize how important schools are. It's the future. These kids are the future of our society. And again, I understand that's a cliche, but it's the truth. And it's frustrated me in Sacramento several times. And these people in Sacramento, these legislators, just think it's okay to say, oh, well, we have a budget shortfall, so we're cutting like a third of your school budget. It's like, do you guys realize what that means? Do you understand what you're doing when you do that? So it comes from the Sacramento, and it's top down. It comes down to LA, it comes down to Beaudry, and it comes down to the schools, and it comes down to the kids. And not to be vulgar, but shit rolls downhill. And the sad thing is, the bottom of the hill is the kids. So that ball rolling down the hill is eventually going to turn into an avalanche. It's going to hit the kids, and people don't realize that. And that was something we were trying to stop with the strike, was making sure, hey, you guys can't keep doing this. We're just coming out of a pandemic. We need to make sure that our voices are heard, that you guys step up because these kids need it. So that was the feeling, and that was why we were out there protesting. Again, the most vivid memory I have is just seeing all these people out there, again, in the pouring rain with their umbrellas and their jackets, but still out there protesting, saying, we are not going to let this man downtown at Beaudry do this to us. And that was the feeling. So a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. Again, something that shouldn't have needed to happen, but it did. What else? Oh, the rallies. Okay, the rallies were crazy. We did our schools in the morning from like 7:30 to about noon. We would have the rallies at our school site, and then we'd just go to lunch. And after lunch, we'd go downtown to have these giant rallies downtown. And the rallies downtown were massive. Again, just a sea of red and purple. And it was beautiful to see all these people coming together, to see the classified staff come together with the credentialed staff and everybody together fighting for a common cause, which again is the schools. It's the kids. We are doing this to make sure that our kids have a good future, especially coming off of 3 years of COVID, of Zoom, of screens. You don't know how much damage those 3 years did. From 2020 to 23, I mean, those kids they had mental, emotional scars from that. It they didn't have socialization. That's the problem. Schools, if nothing else, schools socialize these kids. You learn how to be in a social situation. You learn how to get along with other people because you're there with other people in the schools. And you don't have that when you're on Zoom. You don't have that when you have a screen. When you can roll out of bed and turn the computer on and say, okay, what are we doing? You're on a screen, but you're by yourself at the same time. And these kids had that for over 2 years. And so coming off of that to a district that just couldn't have cared less, and again, being out of contract for 3 years, knowing that our last raise was in 2019 and it's 2023. So I believe I touched on this already, but again, having to pay 2023 prices for everything on 2019 paycheck was just frustrating. And, it makes it sound like it's about the money, but it's really not. The money was part of it, but it wasn't the big part. The big part was just making sure that we had everything there for us so that we could provide for the kids. When you're on an airplane, they say when the masks come down, if you have a kid with you, put your mask on first and then help the kid get their mask on, because you can't help the kid if you don't have oxygen. You have to make sure that you're okay so you can make sure the kid is okay. And that's kind of the feeling here. It was, we're not okay. How are we supposed to help these kids be okay if we're not okay? So we needed to make sure that we were okay to help make sure the kids were okay. And that was just basically the bottom line. So we were trying to press to make sure this district to get itself together, to get its priorities straight, because again, we felt neglected, we felt ignored, and we saw that in the kids too, coming back from the pandemic. So that was the big issue. What else? By the time the strike happened, we were already in bargaining for over a year, and we were dealing with the district's bargaining team, and the bargaining team, they're very, very good at smile and nod. Yes, of course, your concerns are very important to us. We'll look into that. We'll make sure. And of course, Carvalho's not there for any of that. It's all his people. But they have to clear everything through him. So we'll get back to Carvalho and see what he says, and we'll get back to you next week, in 2 weeks, next month. Yes, but yeah, those are good points. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, hey, thank you so much. And it's very frustrating to come in with these issues, to present these issues, and then to have the team just give you a smile and nod. That was frustrating. So by the time we got to the strike, by the time we got to the point where we were in Mayor Karen Bass's office, at that point, we had already issued our last best offer. We had already gone through mediation and fact-finding and everything else. So at that point, we were just like, this is the best we can do. This is all we have. So when we finally got the proposals from the district, again, it was 3 years out of contract. So it was retro for 2020, 2021, 2022. It was 3 years of retro. So getting what we got in the contract, getting the 30%, getting 8%, 7%, getting the 2%, or that's the $2 an hour bonus, getting the raises, finally, after all the work we'd done, after everything we'd put in, after shutting the district down for 3 days. I mean, the thing about the strike too is you have to realize we had to show them we were serious, because they were looking at us like, yeah, whatever, you're not going to do this. You're not going to shut the district down. You think you can, you're not. And we had to show them we were serious because they weren't taking us seriously. So when we saw what we got for the contract, it showed, yes, they are taking us seriously because we're making them take us seriously after 3 years. Settling in 2023, the 2020 contract. That was the big deal. So I was very happy with that. We got the 30% raise. We got a lot. So you got to realize we went on strike in March of 2023. It is now August of 2024. This is over like a year and a half later, and we're just now having things kick in. One of the provisions of the contract, I'm a special ed assistant. Special ed assistants are supposed to get a 7th hour, and that was supposed to start in January, and the district dug their heels in on that, so that's not even starting until Monday. The school year officially starts this year on Monday, which is August 12th. That's when we get our 7th hour, which was supposed to kick in back in January. So the fact that even now, a year and a half later, there's provisions of that contract that are just now kicking in. That's frustrating, but it happened because we made it happen. And so you have to realize you can only take your employees for granted so long before the employees will say, hey, wait a second, and they will fight back. And that's what we had to do. This was important. This was something we had to do, and I was very happy with the result we got. I think a lot of that was the fact that the mayor actually stepped in. We had to do bargaining in Mayor Bass's office, and she was there. I met her a couple times, and it was just beautiful to see her step in, to be on our side, to say, hey, you guys are the ones making this district run. We have to actually do something for you because I understand we're coming out of the pandemic. I understand you guys haven't had a contract in 3 years. I mean, she was very much on our side. I was very grateful for that. Part of the problem, I don't want to say anything personal about the man, but Carvalho was from Florida, and Florida is a right-to-work state. So he is not used to unions. And I think that's part of the reason they picked him to be a union buster. And it was like, guys, No, this is not going to happen. This is California. It's not even California, it's LA. This is LA. This is Southern California. We don't play that kind of stuff here. You're not in Florida anymore, Mr. Carvalho. You are in LA. And LA is a totally different universe. You know, you're on the opposite end of the country at this point, and you can't do to us what you do in Florida. So it's like, you know, either deal with us on our level here in LA or pack your bags and go back to Florida, because that's basically where we were at that point. And he was very much digging his heels in, you know, we don't need you, we don't need unions, we don't need you guys. And the district was hurt because of that. I think a lot of the kids were hurt because of that, because he is very much, I'm putting money first, I'm putting the budget first, and you can't do that when you're running a school. Schools are not businesses. You cannot run a district like you run a business. That doesn't work, because you're dealing with children. You're dealing with kids. You're dealing with probably the most vulnerable population, especially with the special ed kids. You're dealing with kids who need the extra help. You need the kids who need the extra assistance. And you can't do that on a business mindset. It just doesn't work. You can't say, oh, we have to help the budget, we have to do the spreadsheet, we have to make sure that everything's lined up. I understand there's a need for that, but again, you have to balance that against you're dealing with children. And you can't do that with children like you can a business. That just doesn't work that way. And we had to get him in that mindset. And I think we did that. I think that we're very proud of that too, is the fact that we got him to understand that this is a school, this is not a business. You're not running LAUSD Inc. It's not the way that it is. Sorry.
I think you touched on a lot of really good things. Now, for future members of Local 99 listening to what you said years from now and had a lot of really good points, what wisdom do you want to pass on to them that might help them, you know, if they ever encounter a similar situation with an antagonistic superintendent, or even in a situation where they feel like they're disrespected or they're entertained, whatever it may be?
Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Stand up, say, you know what, I'm here, I'm part of this. You are part of a group. You have to realize too, you are not just by yourself. You have a whole group of people there with you. One of the things I love about the union is it feels like a family. You literally have brothers and sisters who got your back. They're there with you, that will help you fight, that will help you with this. But never be afraid. How do I put this? The squeaky wheel gets the grease, basically. You can't be afraid to stand up and say, you know, this is what we need to run these schools for these kids. You can't be afraid to just not step up. You can't just sit in the back and be quiet, because then you never get help. You have to be able to stand up and say, hey, we have to do this. You have to be a leader, and sometimes people aren't going to follow you. They'll be like, who do you think you are? But you know what? Those people are going to be those people. But you have to step up and say, you know, hey guys, we have to do this or else nothing's going to get done. How much longer do you want to live in 2023 on a 2019 paycheck? I mean, you have to get people fired up, and you have to do that. You can't be afraid of doing that. And sometimes that means stepping up to people like Carvalho and just saying, hey, you can't treat us this way. So, you know, don't be afraid to step up. Don't be afraid to stand up. Don't be afraid to say, I'm here. You guys, sorry, I feel like I'm repeating myself again and again, but it's the same. Yeah. Don't be afraid to stand up, and don't be afraid to motivate other people too, because people will see you stand up and then they stand up. They say, oh, he's going against the administration. He's going against the supervisor. He's going against the superintendent. And they will follow you because they realize, oh, wow, he's right. You know, I can't live like this anymore. I can't deal with, you know, having these mentally, emotionally scarred kids who are coming off a 3-year pandemic. I can't have this district ignoring our needs, ignoring our kids' needs, and they will see you step up, and then they step up. You're motivating people. You get one person, then you get 2 people, then you get 4 people, then you get 8 people, then you get 16 people, and it builds up. And you have to be able to step up. You can't stay on the sidelines. If you step up, other people will step up, and then you get what you need to get, even if it means standing out in the pouring rain for 3 hours protesting. I got to tell you again, the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that we got everybody together. My school had 100% rate, people that walked out. And again, to see the purple people and the red people standing out there protesting because they realized what was going on with the district was horrible, it was amazing. And it was because we weren't afraid to stand up to the boss, to say, hey, this district, and you got to realize too, the great thing about LAUSD, its biggest strength is just how freaking big it is. It goes from San Pedro all the way to the valley, from the west side to the east side. It's the second biggest district in the nation. And you get that many people standing up and saying, hey, right, you know, this needs to change. This isn't working. It's a tsunami. And it's a tsunami that is going to take these big guys at Beaudry, and they will notice it because, hey, you know, we're shutting the schools down because so many of us want change. So just don't be afraid to step up. Don't be afraid to stand up. Don't be afraid to say, hey, this is wrong. We're going to do something about it. SEIU has become a lot stronger, much stronger since the strike. You got to realize when I first started with SEIU, our big thing was fight for 15. We were promised a 15% raise, and we settled for, I think, 6. I mean, we were promised 15%. When we fight, we win, and they settled for 6. And a lot of people were frustrated by that because, again, it was, well, we tried, but 6 was the best we could get. And it was just kind of a lot of us were like, what happened when we fight, we win. If we're going to fight for 15, let's fight for 15. Yeah, but they were only offering 6, so we settled for 6. We fought for 15, but we got 6. We're settling for it. We're not a union that settles anymore. We're not a union if they say 6, we say no, we're fighting for 15. When we fight, we win has become our mantra. And we are fighting back. And if we have to go out and shut the whole damn district down for 3 days to do that, we're doing that. SEIU is not a union that capitulates anymore. We don't say we're fighting for 15 when we settle for 6. If we're fighting, we're fighting. We got 30%. We got 30%. It's not even fighting for 15. It's we got 30. And we fought for 30. And we didn't stop until we got 30. Even it meant shutting the district down for 3 days. So SEIU has changed because we are the union that fights back now. We're not settling anymore. We're not going to say, oh, well, we'll accept less than half because we don't want to fight you. No, we're not afraid to fight back. That's the biggest thing right now.